I'm Jake.
And I'm Brian.
And you're listening to Like It Was Yesterday.
Let's jump in the time machine. Welcome to Like It Was Yesterday. I am your host, Brian Deershaw. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jake Wakefield. Jake, how you doing?
Hey there, Brian. I'm doing all right. I'm glad to say that I survived and made it to this podcast today after being attacked by a tiny little ghost.
Oh no, a tiny little ghost.
Tiny little ghost is all over my hand. He ectoplasmed me good.
We were getting ready to do this show, and today we're talking about scary stories.
Yeah,
and in all forms, urban legends, scary books. Scary
just scary happenings as a kid.
Scary stuff.
Scary shows, scary movies, scary books, specifically like Goosebumps. I mean, who didn't read Goosebumps?
Absolutely. And we were getting going. We were getting rolling. It was sounding good.
Yep.
And then we are currently in the company of a small dog. Yep. She's very excitable. She's very cute.
Mm-hmm.
And she just full on slimered you.
Yeah.
Like ectoplasm all over your arm.
Yeah.
And
right mid-sentence introducing the topic.
Yeah, and then it was over. We had to quit.
Yes.
And we did.
We had to collect ourselves and be professional adults.
And just like professionals, we're talking about our failures now again.
Yeah.
On the one that we're keeping.
Yeah.
So like people are going to hear this.
Yeah, but
you know that.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
People can hear us?
Yeah, we're going to release this on the internet. Did you not know? I mean, we're like 6 episodes in. Scariest story of all.
Oh, no. The internet can hear us.
Well,
can you imagine?
I cannot imagine.
God.
Well, to make us feel reassured, you always want to be in the company of friends.
Yeah.
People that will tell us everything's all right.
Yeah, I need someone here who could fight a ghost.
And fortunately, we have someone here who I believe, I've never seen him fight a ghost, but I believe he would. I've
never seen him not fight a ghost, so that means they know better.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, he is our friend. He is a returning guest.
Mm-hmm.
It's Adam Johnson.
Hello.
Hi, Adam.
How are you both?
Doing all right. It took a while to get on track today, didn't it?
Just a little.
Yeah, I mean, since we're pulling back the curtain and talking about dog attacks
and how this whole podcast is haunted.
Yeah. I came over to do this recording 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah.
And we just hit record now.
Yep. Yeah. Because of the ghosts.
We've been looking up up theme songs.
We spent a solid hour just recording ourselves making creepy noises.
Yeah, we made some creepy noises, which you may never hear. If you didn't hear like anything, like a different intro to this show, then that means that we just trashed it. But we'll see. Maybe you heard it. And maybe if you heard it, I hope you enjoyed it.
Can I tell people to, instead of leaving comments under the post, can I just post your number and have them leave their favorite creepy sound on your phone?
Oh.
Is that allowed?
Honestly, or at least links to YouTube with creepy sounds in them.
Honestly, the only people that call my phone are people that want money.
Okay.
So it would actually be nice to have people call my phone and leave creepy sound effects, because that would be a step up.
Nice. All right. I may or may not do that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
He just throws his phone into the forest.
And it's just making creepy sounds in the forest.
It's still going. It's just out in the middle of the woods
scaring a camper.
Yep.
And a bear.
Oh, man.
So
did any of you ever tell scary stories around a campfire as a kid? Or maybe even not even a campfire, but a backyard fire or a bonfire, or I don't know.
I mean, I remember that happening, but I don't remember that being a staple.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either.
I think it's a very iconic thing, and yet I never really told scary stories around the campfire until I was much older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess as a kid, you're not really pro at telling stories, so you probably would listen to them.
Sure. Also, I've heard I think we've probably all heard all the classic, urban legend, scary stories. The high beams, the hook on the handle.
Hook on the handle is the one that sticks out.
Oh, that was a classic
all
one.
of those things.
Is that the one where the person's feet scrape against the top of the car?
Yeah, they're scraping. Like it's like a couple out at Lover's Lane
Kind
or
of
whatever.
aloof.
Yeah, and then they. What? Oh, okay. Hold on a second. If the story is they hear scraping on the roof and maybe along the sides of the car, and then later they go check and there's a hook on the handle. Does that mean that this scary person, in quotes, I'm going to say scary because maybe it was just a desperate person who's missing a limb.
Yeah.
They tried and failed to get into just a car.
Yep. Yeah.
Not like a fortress, not like a safe house, just a car.
Just a car full of horny teenagers. So it's not like they were really paying attention to what's going on around them.
And then failed so hard that they lost their prosthetic limb.
Yeah.
My assumption of the story.
Scary.
Oh boy.
My assumption of the story was that the couple was paying it just enough attention to creep themselves out and then drove away. And then the act of driving away tore the limb off.
Oh, that's clever.
Oh, I see. See, that makes actual logistical sense.
The version of my story, or my version of that story, is that there is the scraping on the car. One of them goes out to investigate, and then the scraping starts on the roof. And what happens is the first person who went out to investigate is scraping along the roof because it's the bottom of their feet scraping across the roof instead of the hook hand or something. So it's cool to see how much that story kind of mutates just between three people from the same state, more or less.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to be fair, like, I think all of these classic ones are ones that I've heard as references.
Yeah.
It's not like I was sitting around a campfire and somebody told me that.
Yeah,
I don't remember any of that. The only like scary campfire stories I remember are people like telling like, oh, I saw weird lights in the woods, or I heard something scraping against my tent. Like actual personal experiences of experiencing something weird.
Yeah. Or their friend experienced it and it was totally real.
The friend of the friend sort of story?
Yeah, the friend of the friend.
Yes. Everyone has a friend of a friend.
Oh, yeah.
That experienced, like, saw a ghost or... that brings me to my next question, which is, have either of you had experiences where you believe you saw a ghost?
Not directly, no.
Jake?
Yeah. I've got a few good stories about that. Should I go into
direct stories?
Well, I mean, they're not really like specifically ghost stories, but yeah, I guess it happened. You were talking about being
late
in the woods
one night.
What you can't see is that I've turned off all the lights and I have the flashlight up, casting over the bottom of my face. Yeah. Watch your feet for Summit licking you.
There's distant campfire noises as well.
That actually reminds me of another creepy story, the licking thing. We'll just have a creepy story special or something later on. But we were camping once. You were there, Brian.
Yeah.
So this happened to a friend of mine, and it was you. That's the twist. No. So we're up camping late one night. Of course, everyone had already gone to sleep. It was during that era where we weren't 21
but we were drinking in the woods.
Definitely somehow had some booze in the woods.
Adult libation.
Yeah, someone must have left them there or something.
Yeah, you found the cache in the rocks.
Of course, that's definitely probably what happened. No, middle of the night, I woke up, just tossing around. Woke up and looked out the tent, and people say they see like one light, maybe off in the distance, like kind of flashlight wibbling around in the distance.
Sure,
I saw probably about 50 of those. So all around our tents. So,
like what did they look like? Because that could take on a bunch of different forms.
So what they looked like was very distinct because I actually remember waking up. I'm like, all right, no one's gonna believe this is happening. I'm gonna remember every piece of this. So I was in a blue tent. I remember because it was my big 12-person tent that I have.
That's actually a good detail. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam remembers that tent. You've been in that tent before
Sure.
in our camping trips. So I was in the tent. I stood up. I was in my little crappy sleeping bag I had at the time, and I looked around, and these lights were at all different levels, from eye level, plus or minus 3 feet.
Okay.
They were all about the strength of a candle.
Okay.
Not as strong as like a flashlight or even a big lantern, like one of those big Coleman lanterns that are really, really bright.
Kind of.
And they were at different distances. So the thing I remember is that as a blue tent, the lights were green, which made me assume that because it was a green light coming through the blue tent, it was like a fiery yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were all around the tent on all sides. And the thing I remember thinking was my first logical explanation for it was like, did I just wake up in the middle of like some sort of Navy SEAL training exercise? And they're all like those like sweet little like glowing eyepieces that they had,
For night vision.
Yeah, like that they had back in the 90s.
Some real Sam Fishers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was my first thought. My second thought was I looked at the dogs that were there, and it was Mr. Adam Ashbaugh's two dogs that he had. And they were both asleep. So I'm like, well, if the dogs are asleep, it's probably fine.
Yeah,
that's true.
Typically, we like to think that the animals are the first to tip you off.
Yeah.
You didn't have an Indiana Jones moment where you had to turn around and follow the rats.
No. Yeah, if the dogs were flipping their shit, I would have been a lot less chill about the situation.
The floor of the tent was covered in rats.
They were also fine.
So they were all around you.
Yes. All around our camp, because I do remember that if I was looking at the front of the tent, like the big exit, to the left of that was another tent with more of you and a few other people in it, and there weren't lights coming from that side.
Oh, okay.
So it was either blocked by that tent or it was just pure coincidence. And this was up in Pingree Park, Colorado. If anyone ever wants to go up there,
it's a cool spot.
It's actually really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not known for being haunted, but who knows?
Children have died up there, though.
I'm sure. I mean, it is a forest on a mountain. I'd be surprised if children hadn't died there.
Come to Pingree Park. Kids have died here.
Just a cheerful ranger.
Yeah.
This isn't a cheerful podcast.
That's
So did you go outside?
Or
were you like nope.
I noped from peeking outside, but I did like peek out the top bit of the tent, because the tent had like a plastic, like see-through kind of like star window that some of them have, where it's like waterproof, but not really. You can't really see too well through it because it's like cheap plastic, so it's all like wobbly wibbly. And I couldn't really see anything too well. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I've stood up too fast. I'm clearly I'm seeing stars.
Sure.
So I wave my hand in front of my face, and when I put my hand over my eyes, the things are behind the hand. So I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna tell everyone about this in the morning. They're gonna love this.
And were the lights moving at all?
Not noticeably.
Okay,
so they weren't. That was the other weird thing. My next guess was fireflies, and I've seen fireflies a bunch of times.
Yeah, but even fireflies will move.
Yeah,
and they flash.
Yeah, even as a kid, I was really surprised the first time I saw fireflies. It was up in like the Chicago area when I was visiting my uncle, and it's the first time I really ever seen them. And I thought like I was kind of like seeing stars at first, because a bunch of lights were flashing in and out of my vision and wibbling around in the air. And I was pretty familiar with that at the time, because it was only a few years before I had gone to this camping trip I'm talking about. So I got up, saw the weird lights, and eventually I was like, well, nothing weird's happening, so I'm just gonna not worry about it this morning. Don't remember going to sleep, and just it was morning.
That's super interesting, because I love I'm I'm a very much a skeptic.
Oh, me too.
And I don't know about you, Adam.
I want to believe because they're fun stories.
Sure, yeah. We're all a bunch of Fox Mulders.
Yeah.
We want to believe.
Stole it from me. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't have proof, so
But
I'll just go with the story.
But the like logic, scientific part of your brain says, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also like to because I'm not caught up in the story, because I don't believe you saw anything, extraterrestrial or any ghosts or anything like that.
Sure.
My brain goes to, well, two things. One is, of course, what was it?
Yeah.
What actually caused that?
Yeah.
Was it actual lights? Was it something in your brain?
Mm-hmm.
Because it could have been something in your brain.
Well,
And oftentimes when you see something that doesn't fit into the natural order of things, it's your brain tricking you in some way.
You're freaking out. Or
sure.
Especially right after waking up.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people experience or have experienced before sleep paralysis. And
oh, God, I have.
That's a creepy thing. And I'm like well acquainted with sleep paralysis, too. You and me both, Brian. And it definitely wasn't that. So
well, and then of course the more fun take on it is then instead of asking what created this or what caused this is if it was something either extraterrestrial or like a ghost presence, why? Why was it happening?
It was just like 300 little fairies floating around, like looking at our camp, being like, "What the hell are they doing?"
Be like, we haven't been here for 150 years. They're in our little commune area.
Yeah,
they've been like migrating around the world for 150 years, and they finally got back to base, and they're just some dudes in tents around a campfire.
Yeah, they're basically like mystical geese.
Yeah. Really slow geese.
Yeah, very slow, very magical geese that if you clap, they get stronger.
Yeah.
Right? That's fairies, right?
Yeah.
That's what you did with Tinkerbell, at least I remember that one movie.
Hook? Was that Hook?
No, it wasn't Hook where you clap. There's an actual movie where like they broke the fourth wall and they talked to the viewer and they're like, you have to clap to save this fairy's life. So as a little,
was it also in 3D and they pointed at the screen and it looked like they were pointing at me? Oh,
but I can imagine all those kids just furiously clapping.
It's like tears streaming down their face, like survive. You can do it.
There's great Foley work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really need those fairies to survive, man.
But I love just for a second stepping away from the logical part of the brain, because the logical part of the brain there's a lot of interesting stuff on that side, like why you hear weird noises if you're in a building and related to weird resonant frequencies running through pipes and stuff like that. That's super fascinating.
Reflective surfaces.
But at the same time, I love just like, well, let's dive into the fantasy.
Sure. And, a lot of those memories as you go along through a decade or two, especially memories of like when you're a little kid, they get kind of skewed and they get kind of blurry. So like, I remember some scary things happening as a kid that, I can now attribute to perfectly logical things.
Like
that horrible, furnace in Home Alone.
Oh gosh. Yeah, classic.
Like that's a really good example of something that like I remember that thing being just nightmarish in that show.
Big old boiler furnaces.
Yeah.
Well, and I really related to that because, well, and it's funny because the my parents' house has this huge basement.
Yes.
And lots of stuff, and there's like a separate but not behind doors room with like the water heater and all that stuff.
Right.
The classic noise making creepy things in a basement. And I ended up for a few years living in the basement, which is weird because earlier I was petrified of like middle of the night going down into the basement.
Oh, I mean, lots of kids were. If you're a little kid, I think you could judge how brave you were as a little kid by how many steps you went up the stairs right after the lights turned off in 1 second.
Oh, yes.
I still feel like that sometimes.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely something about to grab your ankles right as you're up that first step.
Oh, yeah. I think about the... you're right. Like, even to this day, like, I'll still think about, like, what's the quickest route I can take, the most efficient route I can take out the door after I have to turn off the last light.
Yep.
Like, we also have 2, like, separated attic spaces at the house, and one of them is this kind of L-shaped room, and you go in the main door, and there's a light switch right inside the door on your left side, and then you go down maybe like 15 feet, and then you hit the corner, and you go around the corner towards, there's a secondary door, and that door has a light switch next to it.
Ooh.
The secondary door just goes into a bedroom.
Okay.
Not into a weird, deeper, darker area of the attic.
I was kind of hoping, but...
Yeah.
It just comes out someone's closet.
Yeah. So
you just open the door and it loops you back into that room.
I was thinking you open the door and it's into a different house.
Yeah. If only. But that second light switch is the one that controls the main lights in the attic. The first one controls the light in the smaller section that's right next to the main door.
Oh.
Right? So it casts
the entry.
It casts some light into the main area of the attic, but not a whole lot. And so you really, like, when you go in to, like, go get something, you need to turn on that, and then you need to go around and turn the other one on.
Right.
And for some reason, I'm always fine at night going in. So I go in, I hit the first light switch, and I walk through into the partially dark attic to hit the second one. And I'm fine. But almost every time when I leave, I hit that second light switch that controls the bulk of the lights, and I head towards the door, and my brain just says, don't turn around. Don't you dare turn around.
Don't you do it.
Something is in the dark.
Yeah.
And so even to this day, that's still my reaction.
Is there a word for that feeling of that impending doom of you feeling something right behind you, but also like logically knowing that there shouldn't be something there?
I hope there's a
it's
word.
Like a
I'm
prey
try
instinct
and find
or
it
something.
Right
I guarantee there's a psychology term for that.
Yeah.
But I'm not a psychologist.
Just like this weird paranoia.
Yeah.
But man, I remember having that a little bit as a kid. Like I said, I suffered from sleep paralysis as a kid.
Yeah.
So I definitely liked like sleeping with a nightlight on for a long time, or like having a TV on, especially. Except when the Ring came around, thanks a lot, the Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
because that was back in the day before digital cable. So you're watching a movie on Channel 3, you fall asleep, and Disney's Magical Tale of Lion King. And yeah, you wake up to fucking static at the end of your bed. You're like, nope.
Yeah. I only had a small handful of times sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
But one that I will always remember is it was when I was living down in the basement. And so I had my bed in the middle of the main room of the basement.
Oh man, you see that was your first mistake. There is no strategic safety point when your bed's in the middle.
You're right. You're
that
right
is
about
four
that.
exposed corners of a bed.
Yeah. And so I still move around a lot when I sleep, but not as much as I used to. I used to like thrash around in my sleep.
Sure.
And so what happened was I had one of those nights where I thrashed around in my sleep and I fell off my bed. I actually rolled out of bed.
Oh.
And I landed on my side and I woke up and I had sleep paralysis.
Fantastic.
And I just the way I fell, I was laying on the floor next to my bed on my left side, and everything in my cone of vision was back through the open doorway, back to where the boiler and heater were.
So,
and also back through into where my dad has a little shop.
Yeah, so to give kind of a sense
workshop.
of scale to this basement, like that basement was probably about the size, length by width of, I don't know. I'm thinking in terms of like a big two-car garage, like doubled over. So almost like a 4-car garage in size.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit. It's a big basement.
Yeah,
there's
it's a lot of very
space.
big basements, and then it does go through that big double doors into that back room.
Yep.
And then through another pair of double doors to the right of that set where it goes into that little workshop.
Yeah.
And of course I had my TV
right
back then, and I always go to sleep with either a video or something audio on.
Okay.
I still do that. And so I had been watching some video, and it wasn't the Ring style like static.
No.
But there was light, because the TV was still on. There was
light.
Like
that poltergeist style light where it's just like that glowing.
I can't remember. It might have actually been like just like a DVD menu, on a loop where it just loops with some shitty portion of a soundtrack for forever.
It's like
unless it's a scary movie, because I found Jake like that once
with scary sound effects of
after finals.
After finals, it was the loop of the intro screen for Exorcism of Emily Rose.
I was just
that's creepy.
Passed right out.
That's a super creepy one.
Yeah,
but it was on, and it was projecting light into the room.
Right.
So I had light around my bed, but then falling off quickly into darkness through the doorway.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move.
And that's where the creature is, right?
Oh my God, that's where the creature is.
Oh yeah, I know how it is.
I was absolutely petrified, and I was there for. I think eventually I was just like, I can't move.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna try to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I have no options.
Yeah.
So I eventually did go back to sleep, and then woke up on the floor the next day,
Yikes.
the next morning.
Wow.
Yikes. Not especially when you're younger, having that sort of thing happen. Like you can't quite tell the difference between, I guess, reality and like a dream world.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about when you're really, really young. Like you don't know if a skeleton coming into your room is real when you're 5 or something. So that sort of stuff can be really scary for kids. And
you don't know what reality is.
Yeah, I mean, you're 5, and as far as you know, sure, why aren't there giant dragons that you can ride around on?
Yeah,
or why aren't
you
there
might not even know you have bones, and then something made of bones walks through the door.
Yeah, that is a funny idea that, as a kid, I had no concept of having bones.
Yeah.
But the idea that bones could come and attack me was perfectly plausible.
Yeah.
Skeletons, so scary.
Yeah.
And then finally you realize, oh, I have a skeleton inside me.
Yeah.
I've been the scary one the whole time.
I really am a monster.
It was the first twist that you ever realized as a kid.
Yeah.
Adam, did you ever have like sleep paralysis or anything like that?
The one I remember was actually in college.
Yeah.
So I wasn't smaller by any means.
Right.
But it was freshman year dorm, and I bunked with my cousin. And we had the bunk bed so that we could save space in the tiny little room.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was after a weekend of doing marching band, which is something we've talked about before.
Yes.
And so everyone was taking a nap. And I just remember waking up, but my eyes didn't open. But for some reason, I still had some sort of vision of the room.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just felt the bed vibrating.
Ooh,
and my immediate thought was, oh my God, he's having a seizure. What am I going to do about this? And I can't move.
Yeah.
Oh, so you thought... Wait,
so
you thought your cousin was having a seizure.
I was the top bunk. He was bottom bunk.
And you couldn't move.
I couldn't move, and I thought he was having a seizure because the bed was shaking, and I couldn't help him.
So you thought, like, worst case scenario, I'm literally feet from him. He's having something where he needs severe medical attention, but I'm restrained.
Yes. I couldn't move anything. I couldn't open my eyes.
Wow.
And then for some reason, my brain switched after the bed stopped shaking, and I could hear rats in the ceiling. Because in the dorms they had that asbestos-looking like ceiling tile.
Yeah,
that scratchy noises make all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I could hear them running across the ceiling.
So yeah, that's a variant of sleep paralysis called exploding head syndrome.
Yeah.
And if you're listening along at home, look that up because it's one of my favorite syndrome names I've ever heard.
That's a real?
No, that's literally what it's called. It's called exploding head syndrome. It's where you get these like big bursts of noise or feelings like that. Some people will feel like spiders crawling over them, or people will feel like hands touching them, all sorts of things, but a lot of them all at once. I would like to think that maybe you woke up after that and like jumped down and you're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like on a person like,
He's with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's with his girlfriend like,
Did you forget I was here?
Hi.
I don't know your name, but hi. Sorry.
It's not even your roommate. It's just a rando.
I thought you were dying.
The scary part is you were in a different dorm this whole time.
I'm just so tired.
And that's when you really wake up and you look down and there's no one there.
Yeah.
Then you wake up one more time and you're in a boat.
And then you wake up again and you're the one having sex. And you're like, well, everything kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't wake up again.
Inception. Bwah and all that. Bwah.
Hey,
Bwah.
can I do the blah noise?
Yes. I don't know if that's up to Leo DiCaprio's standards.
It wasn't the whole Inception. It was just like an incept.
Just an incept.
Okay. It's fine.
Wow. Like, I've never had anything like that. That, like, the sleep paralysis was intimidating enough
Sure.
for me. Like, I would have lost my mind if I woke up to something like what you experienced. That's
creepy crawlies all up in your biz.
Yeah, it's giving me the creepy crawlies as it is.
So like that that Are You Afraid of the Dark story? No, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark story. That was the book. The one with the fantastic illustrations by
God.
I forgot the person's name already. I know we were talking about it earlier.
I think it was Stephen Gamble.
Yeah,
sounds right. Yeah.
So these nightmarish, inky looking illustrations, and there was that classic one about the lady who I think has an itch on her neck or on her head.
It was on her cheek.
On her cheek, that's right. And then she itches it over time, and it gets more and worse, and it starts getting swollen up. And then as she keeps itching it, turns out that it bursts open, and instead of bleeding just like a regular old face wound,
because they bleed.
Spiders.
This baby spider's all up on your face,
all over everywhere.
So
now,
I'm glad you brought up Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Ooh.
We were talking about that beforehand.
Yeah.
That book was the most effective book for scaring me. Absolutely, 100%. And it had nothing to do with the stories.
No.
Because the stories were good, like scary stories to tell kids, right?
There were a few pretty good ones, yeah. And then there were a few just like kind of spooky-ish ones. Even as a kid, you're like,
the ones everyone skipped over.
It's like the book version of like the song about the worms playing pinochle on your snout. And you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of scary, but all in all, it's kind of goofy.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No, what?
I
like that I look over to Adam. He's like, nope, got nothing.
The worms go in, the worms go out. The worms play pinochle on your snout. No idea. Nothing. Okay,
not even.
Well, it sort of sounds familiar now, but I don't.
I'll find some clip. It's probably on part of some weird off-brand cartoon from the 40s or something.
Oh man, is this going to be like a Candle Cove thing where a bunch of people
that'd be cool.
Can post? I'm not going to go into Candle Cove. We can do like a whole creepy pasta episode someday. But
okay, well, I'm going to have to find out about that.
Ooh, yeah, I'll tell you about that later. And if you know what that is, keep the secret.
No spoilers.
Yeah, keep the secret. And if you don't know what that is at home, go look up Candle Cove right now.
Okay.
And do it with the lights on. Because it's my favorite show as a kid. Yeah.
Okay. So the stories were all right.
Right, yeah.
And they're kind of creepy, set a good tone. But it's the power of it's the power of art, really,
Well, yeah.
because those illustrations and seriously, if you did not have the joyous terror of reading those books when you were kids, even as an adult, look them up.
Yeah.
Look up Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and just hit the image tab, and you'll see all of this dude's artwork.
Yes.
And it's so just really like disturbing.
It's got a very like ethereal quality to it because they use kind of an ink wash look, and it adds this kind of like sickly, cloudy, almost like moldy look where this figure, usually like a creepy looking face, is kind of like blurring in from the background and coming into focus. So it's just like unsettling because the faces aren't quite right. They're kind of like
the anatomy gets obscured.
Or distorted in a way.
Yeah, it's a really great nightmarish, like surreal style.
Well, it's the kind of artwork that you'd expect in like a depiction of nightmares.
Yeah,
like that fits perfectly. Like if you were like, well, we need to go into this nightmare realm and we want to make it very scary, you'd go for something like that. Yeah. It
had that like kind of vague, blurry feel. If anyone's played Silent Hill, I think that game kind of captured that look.
Yeah,
in their fog. Like Silent Hill is really, really famous for having a really like foggy, really hard to see play style. And that made it creepy because you only saw like shadows of things moving in the distance. You couldn't quite tell what they were. And that sort of anticipation of them getting closer was a lot of the fear. And it's funny that we're talking about all this because I've got Goosebumps pulled up over here.
We weren't going to talk about Goosebumps.
Well, no, we're talking about how like nightmarish the book is, the illustrations of the book is, and looking at Goosebumps, it's just like super 90s acrylic paint and just like
mad with
gaudy
color.
Yeah, it's just horribly gaudy and just cartoony. Like,
well, and see, that is like on the opposite end of the spectrum of, you know, if there is such a genre, kids horror.
Yeah,
because Goosebumps were meant to be scary stories.
Yeah,
and they have the framework of telling a scary story, but it's all the edges are soft.
Yeah,
it's just
it's like a McDonald's play place of scary stories.
Exactly,
like they've padded all the corners.
Yep, and it was just like I had probably like 40 to 50 Goosebumps books.
Yeah.
As a kid, I loved them.
Oh, I loved them too.
All my friends had them, so I just went to their house.
Yeah, see, that's what I did. I maybe owned like 5 or 10. But we had like a whole network of like a file sharing system of just Goosebumps books between friends. Because that was what you did. You go to that, it was the Scholastic Book Fair, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And they do that once or twice a year, maybe like once a semester or once a quarter even in elementary school. And you know,
they combined it with the Pizza Hut stuff.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
That's another.
Oh,
that's
man.
Another...
Oh, man.
That book club, though.
Yep.
Well, Goosebumps got me a lot of pizza as a kid because those books were also pretty easy to read as a kid.
Yes, that's where.
Like even as a little third grader, you could blast through one in a day.
That's what was so great about them is that they were like R.L. Stine had this knack for writing perfectly for, you know, that like preteen age group, like where it was really accessible, but it still was like solid writing. You know, it's
Well, yeah.
He didn't really like ever like talk down to kids.
He didn't make it so you felt stupid.
Yeah. He just
and there were engaging stories about, you know, relatable characters when you're however old you are when you read them, you know.
Yep. A haunted house, a living dummy,
and
werewolf,
creepy basement.
You know, fears that you have as a kid. You know, if he had written something that we've seen in some horror movies now, like if he had tried handling The Ring, for example.
Krampus.
I feel like the Krampus is just at that level. Like he might pull it off.
Yeah.
But like, you know, a Stephen King version of The Ring, not Stephen King, but
R.L. Stine.
Yeah, R.L. Stine. An R.L. Stine version of The Ring would be a lot different. You know, it could still have a haunted tape, but instead of a ghost coming out of the tape, it's like a spirit. He doesn't really describe it as this nightmarish thing, and it just creeps up on you after the end. And there's only like one scare ever in a Goosebumps book.
Oh yeah,
and it was like 3 pages before the end.
Yeah,
and if you were,
and you knew it was coming.
Well, that's because you flipped right to the end of the book, read those 3 pages, then read through the whole book. It's because I was an impatient kid. Well, and it's clearly on the cover every time.
Oh yeah,
like
you know exactly what the thing is going to scare you looks like.
Yeah, you can play around with the reader all you want, but in the book Night of the Living Dummy, I'm pretty sure the dummy's going to come alive in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
and at night.
Yeah, and when night finally comes, I'm pretty sure he's going to get taken.
Get got, yeah.
Did you ever read the one about was it monster slime or monster goo or
I'm sure
something
I
about
did.
something about slime, and one made a kid gigantic, and that was the whole monster blood. That's what it was.
The
classic cover.
Everything.
The classic cover that I'm showing them right now has a
yes.
giant sized hamster that's bursting out of a hamster cage. I love the taglines on these. He's one hungry hamster. And naturally, like everything in the 90s, it's covered in green slime.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the 90s were.
Yep.
Yeah. Green slime everywhere.
Yeah.
Children.
So you all didn't read that one? Or if you did, it was too long
I know
ago?
I did.
I did, but I can't remember it.
All right.
Other than things got giant sized.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing.
Yeah.
Like Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
Yeah, I do love the fact that there
they
was...
did that without slime.
Yeah. They had the effect, but
well, Rick
slime.
Moranis was very smart. I do think it's funny that one of those books is just about like a kid getting big. Like just physical growth.
Well, when you're like 7, that could be a big problem. Like, oh man, I'm 7. Like my big worries in life are like, getting to school, eating cereal in the morning, and like not getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And here I am, like 30 feet tall, smashing through cars. Like, oh no, I'm gonna be grounded forever.
How am I gonna get in my room?
I'm so awkward.
I can't get shorts this big.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be naked.
I know, everyone will see me. Like when you're this age, it's a perfectly like legitimate fear because you have no concept of that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like when you suddenly have those dreams about going to school naked.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's like any horror movie now. Like we know that a ghost is going to pop out of a movie and come and get us in the night after 7 days, but it's still fun to entertain that fact. And sometimes when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, ooh. But it's the same as a kid. It's, you wake up and you're like, oh man, what if there was a green goo that could make me giant?
It's suspension of disbelief before you even knew that existed.
Yeah, which is pretty easy when you're a kid.
Yeah,
because everything's like you don't have a limit for disbelief. I mean, I don't know. I grew up watching X-Files. That was one of my main things.
Sure.
So
my sister loved it. I watched a handful of episodes.
Okay. So like, what about you, Adam? Did you?
I also have seen a handful, but they were never in any sort of order, so continuity was lost on me.
Naturally, this was the era when continuity and TV did not go together. Like, if you knew the entire continuity before you could look it up online, like you were a hardcore X-Files fan.
Yeah.
Because X-Files wasn't exactly like a clean cut narrative either. Like it jumped around a lot of stuff overlapped on itself. Yeah,
there were a lot of stories that they told that were perfectly fine as standalone.
Yeah. Did you ever see the episode where this is a non-spoiler because I think it happens in like the first episode, but
and because this is like a 20-year-old TV show.
It's
on Netflix.
Yeah, but I think we could be okay. Like, I'm sorry you had 2 decades to watch them to watch the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways,
sorry if you're 14 and listening.
just in general. Yeah. Just in general. If you're out there and you're 14, I'm just sorry.
It'll be okay.
It'll be all right. Watch some scary movies, and someday maybe you'll have your own podcast where you can apologize to 14-year-olds too.
A kid can dream.
Oh man. Okay. Back to X-Files.
Yes.
Episode 1.
There's this great scene where Mulder's big sister, and this is a major part of the plot of the show, was she gets kidnapped or I guess abducted by aliens, and she's like lifted out of this big glowing window, and as a kid you're like, oh no, this is the worst. Like
Didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm already worried about like, people kidnapping me in regular life. I don't have to worry about, space aliens coming now and sucking me up through a window with their light magic.
Well, and that just plays on that most basic of fears where the scary furnace in the basement is one thing.
Yeah.
Creepy lights or ghosts in the forest is another thing.
Sure.
But those are like, well, I don't have to go to the basement.
Yeah.
I don't have to go into the forest.
There's some sort of way around it.
Yeah.
But the idea of someone or something coming to you in your bedroom,
yeah,
in the middle of the night, and you being absolutely powerless.
Well,
to do
especially as a kid, because your bedroom's already kind of a sanctuary when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Like you can, it's the one spot where you can have like to yourself. You go to school all the time and have to share everything with kids there. You go, like in my case, and I guess we all had siblings. When you're in the living room or wherever, you kind of have to like play along with the siblings, but you can always just escape to your room, and that's your kind of little kid sanctuary.
Yeah.
And then the bed was like the keep of that castle.
Yeah. No one in it.
Yeah, the bed was the ultimate little safe spot that you could have as a kid, and any sort of thing that like permeated that safe spot was kind of like a steps creepier.
Yeah.
Like anything that was under the bed. I mean, what kid hasn't experienced that's creepy under the bed feeling?
I was trying to think, because I was thinking about those such things like the monster under the bed, monster in the closet.
Yeah.
Those classic in bedroom creeps. And I was trying to think about it, and I think maybe only a handful of times did I ever like look over the edge of my bed and think, well, what if something was under there? I was never like, I don't remember ever being like truly terrified that something would be under there.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I was just able to frame it in my brain like
that wasn't your thing.
There was nothing. There's never anything under there besides maybe a sock.
Sure.
So we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It was always the thing on the other side of the room in the dark that's where I'd be like, oh, a thing could hide there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
just right outside your window.
Yeah, exactly. If a monster hid under my bed, it would have to be a pretty flat monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think maybe if it was able to slither under there and it slithered out, I'd be able to like step on it.
Well, that reminds me too, is that when you're a kid, scale's different too.
Different, yeah.
So like,
it's like Doctor Who. It's bigger on the inside.
Well, yeah. When you're a kid, things fitting under the bed is a bigger issue because everything is like relative to your little kid size. Mm-hmm. And when you're a little kid, you don't quite have an understanding like that things are always bigger than you. So like, oh, there could maybe be a tiger under my bed because tigers are big, which is like, and you're like 3 feet tall. So like they could be like 4 feet tall. You have no concept of how big these things are.
Yeah.
Especially things that don't exist, like ghosts and zombies.
Ethereal things.
Yeah, ethereal things that are sneaking around trying to scare people in the night.
You mentioned the thing outside.
Yes.
Looking in.
Yeah.
Here was, and it was a little bit late. It was like high school.
Ooh.
But
I like where this is going.
And it was while I was living in the basement. A little movie called Signs came out.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah,
and it like the concept. Now, that movie has a terrible ending.
Yeah, it does get a bit religious.
Yeah, and that's okay. I don't mind that, but I was more concerned about the bad ending and like, oh, they're allergic to water.
It was sort of a War of the Worlds sort of ending.
And they invaded a planet.
It was a shabam-blam ending.
Well, they invaded a planet that was mostly water. Like, there's like big logic gaps. It's classic Shyamalan. I think that was probably his first departure into the really bad twist endings.
That was like his second movie, so yeah.
That was third, I think, because I think he had Unbreakable.
Oh, did he do Unbreakable?
Yeah, Unbreakable,
He did, yeah.
Oh, I
and
liked
then
Unbreakable.
and then Sixth Sense, which was terrific.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I mean,
that was
that's
like
what put him
him.
on the map.
Yeah, that's what gave him the lifetime free card.
Yeah.
But
unless you're a Last Airbender fan.
Oh man,
but
we
he's-
don't talk about that movie.
but he's still around making big budget movies
Oof.
where the evil guy is a guy who has dissociative identity disorder,
Yeah.
and apparently that makes him evil.
Yeah.
Oops, that's a weird message to send. But anyway, Signs.
Yeah.
So, they were these like lanky, strong, fast creatures.
Yeah.
And they were always like, he did such a great job of framing them like always lurking in the background.
Yeah. And they were the classic like gray looking aliens with the big heads and the kind of like the big, I don't remember if they really had big creepy eyes, but
I think they were green.
They were bigger.
but
They were greenish.
They had that, but it was
They
the
were kinda
same.
chameleon-y.
yeah,
it was-
that's what I remember. They could kind of like
That's
fade
true.
in and with their surroundings.
Oh yeah, there's that great scene in the base. Go into the basement.
Yeah.
They're hiding in the basement, and the one like is in the vent
Yeah,
and like
man.
reaches around and grabs the kid and is like has chameleoned to
Mhm.
be the same black as the vent, as the like the furnace or whatever.
the grate on it. Yeah,
Yeah, that was creepy.
I-
and then of course the one that this specific scene that just stuck with me,
I already know what you're talking about.
mm-hmm.
Brazilian birthday party.
Brazilian birthday party.
And if you somehow haven't seen this movie, give it a watch. It's a good flick.
Yeah.
Despite its ending, it's
Google
a good
Brazilian birthday party, safe search off.
Flick. Yeah.
Unless-
You'll totally find what we're talking about.
Okay. Weird pictures from Carnival. Anyway, so it's a kid's birthday party, and they're in this house, and it's all like hand shot footage.
Mm-hmm.
And they have two windows, and it's like they're Joaquin Phoenix and the kids are watching it on like a news report, and so you have this kind of grainy footage, and the cameraman goes to one window, and because all the kids are like freaking out, and you don't see anything. There's like a backyard, and there's like bushes and whatever, and then he moves around to the other one, and it's down like an alleyway,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the bushes on the right, and then this creature doesn't dart across, which is what you would expect. Like that's the jump scare that you
Yeah.
expect. It's the fact that this creature walked with purpose,
Mm-hmm.
staring straight at the window where the kids and the cameraman are.
Well, and it had been there the whole time too.
Yeah.
Chameleoned against the background. It reminded me a lot of the really old Bigfoot footage.
That's what I thought.
Like
of,
yes.
that one
That was a
Bigfoot
very-
video that everyone's seen.
Yeah, that was a very Bigfoot
Yeah.
style shot. And it was done so well that like
Mhm.
for months it just stuck with me.
Ooh.
And then past guest Adam Ashbaugh and I one night just freaked ourselves out. I went over to his house and we ended up watching that one scene like 20 times.
Yep.
And then finally, after like several viewings of that one scene,
Mm-hmm.
I finally saw the creature just standing
wall?
behind the bush.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And for some reason that just like broke it in my brain. I'm like, oh, now I can see it. It's been, creepy that it was there the whole time, but now
Yeah.
I know it's there.
Yeah.
And then I felt better because I went outside and it had been snowing.
Oh.
So I was like,
wow.
oh, water everywhere. I'm okay.
Yeah, until you see the little footprints in the snow right
Yeah.
outside your window. Don't
Yeah.
watch Fourth Kind.
But I
Speaking of aliens.
watched when I was living in the basement,
Yeah.
there are several windows along one wall,
There are.
and I made sure that all of them were just covered because those windows looked out
Heck yeah.
on our backyard, just a big expanse of grass, and you just plenty of space for a science creature to be lurking around.
Oh yeah, and naturally, when you're younger, a sheet over the windows is like a blanket over your head.
Yeah,
like it protects you for some reason.
Yes.
somehow.
I mean, yeah, I guess if the castle was your room and the keep was your bed, then the blanket wrapped around your face was like the king's guard come to protect you.
Exactly.
Like, it gets real when you put that blanket over your head. You're like, there's nothing that can get through this.
I saw that
And nothing
movie at
did.
a midnight showing,
Yeah.
Nice.
Perfect.
and then it was
Straight
like
to bed.
exactly. So I got home, and it was straight to bed. I was like, because hanging out with friends and you're seeing it with people, you're like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you're alone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, maybe I'm not okay.
Maybe I need an adult.
Well, it was the it was a similar thing like when I watched Exorcism of Emily Rose for the
Right.
first time.
Right.
But I didn't have to go home alone
Mm.
because I was living in a house with 5 other guys, and we all watched it together.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, it was still like we started the movie at like 1 a.m. and it was
Oh,
it was unplanned and absolutely just couldn't have planned it out better. The movie ends, the credits start rolling.
Mhm.
You look over at the clock, and it was 3:33 in the morning.
Ooh.
And
The
I'm
witching
not
hour.
not making it up.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's the witching hour, but it's specifically in that movie. It plays a big role.
Yes.
Like they reference 3:33 a.m. as when things happen
Yeah.
to her multiple times.
Yeah, that's a big part of the movie is a few times she's woken up and possessed around that time of the night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or other people are possessed or attacked.
and it's a creepy movie. It's a good movie.
Mhm.
But fortunately, like I had all these dudes around me,
Yeah.
and then we went straight to bed. But like I'm like, oh, there's a dude on the other side of the wall from me, and he's a guy that's absolutely like almost annoyingly fearless.
No.
Just nothing phases him.
Yeah.
And so it was like nice to have in that instance. It was really nice to have him on the other side of the wall. It's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
all right, well, he doesn't believe in all this malarkey, so he'll protect me.
Yeah.
He's the one that would actually see some sort of demonic spirit and just be annoyed.
That's kind of
Poke it
how
with
I
a
am.
Stick.
That's totally how I am. I would just be annoyed at this point. Like, man, I gotta sleep. I got a test tomorrow. Could you not?
I have an interview, you ass.
Yeah. I have to do a podcast. Thank you very much.
I would nope out of there. I'm a skeptic, but if I was proven wrong in a dramatic way like that, I'd be like, oh crap, well, my world's broken and my brain's broken and I need to run until
I find people who
until my
believe me.
heart stops.
Yeah. And that's why you're the first guy to die in the horror movie.
Yep.
That's how they get you.
Ah.
See, we're all hanging out in the room, and then you hear the spooky sound, and Brian bolts off.
Crash
Oh,
a glass because he jumped through the window.
crash a glass, and then we
Well-
find him stabbed on the ground 3 days later.
But it's okay because like you need like when you have the crew of people for the horror movie and you know they like throw a bone to the fat person community by like having the one fat guy in there.
Yeah.
But like of course he's going to die because you want a movie where people are running away from
Well,
Have-
yeah.
they have to
and
be
scary
afraid of
things.
something.
And
yeah.
to be fair, most people do die in the horror movies. So,
yeah, but
know.
you want most of the movie to be people like sprinting away.
Yeah.
And that dude's not going to be sprinting from anything,
Yeah.
no matter how scared he is. You've seen me run.
You try.
So
Later.
you let him sprint, 10 feet to the window that he crashes through.
Yeah.
And you give him a almost comical death, like instead of actually being killed by the killer, in his fright running from the killer, he ends up like he crashes through the window and gets stabbed through the neck by a piece of the plate glass.
They play like a slide whistle when he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Or he's-
Those classic horror movie slide whistles.
Oh, man, what a trope that is. Jeez.
Well, we could talk about this for days, but I have to go home and be scared in my bed.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm gonna play bright, happy music, or like,
Yeah, that's exactly what they
put Care Bears
expect
on the TV or something.
Oh man, Care Bears! I remember that.
Leave the lights on. Yeah, there's more. There's so much more we could do. We could definitely do a second part to this.
We should definitely do a second part to this.
Yeah, this is fun.
Just scary stories in general. We got to do a haunted house episode.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of.
And I know the exact guest we're gonna have on for that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
We will try to get him.
I like that. I'm just like shaking and nodding my head, and everyone's like, "Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah."
So we'll definitely be doing that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're gonna call it a day today.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, thank you for
Certainly.
doing the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being back. I'm sure we'll see more of you in the
It's
future.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? You have you been putting a bunch of stuff on Instagram? I mean,
I've
you
put
should
some stuff up. Yep.
because you're becoming more and more of a photographer type man.
Trying.
So you have an Instagram that you wanna plug?
AJamesJ23.
AJJames23. Did I get that right? Okay. So check that out. He's a good photographer.
And when you go up camping in the woods, just remember, if you wake up and there's pictures of you sleeping on your camera and you're alone, I'm telling that story.
Yep.
I'm stealing it.
Also, if you wake up and you see a whole bunch of lights around you, just start snapping some photos so we can have some proof.
Yeah.
Unlike this liar, Jake.
I'll have
like 300 photos of
all
a
the photos.
flash on in your tent. So it's just like white.
because it's just me freaking
Yeah,
out.
it's just frantic. Like, wow, thanks for that, Adam. I really confirmed those ghosts.
Oh, you're a horrible photographer.
But yeah, thanks again for being here.
Yeah.
Can we do a ghost hunting special? Let's do that.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Heck
Jake, what do you have to plug?
Well, I guess I could plug some of my illustration stuff.
Yeah, you can.
And if you want to see that, you can check out cosamo-art.com. That's COSAMO-art.com. Brian's doing the classic dance for that.
Yep.
And if you want to check out my graphic design stuff, you can check out wakegraphic.com. And
Is that it? Is that... I was waiting for something else.
That's because
I don't know why.
That's because I said them backwards this time to change it up.
Yeah,
Throw
you really
off.
Yeah, really walking backwards like some sort of weird spirit.
Yeah. Speaking of spirits,
I heard
Brian's-
an explanation for that, actually.
What?
If you want
What?
to hear it.
What's that?
What?
You know how there's that weird idea of spirits walking through walls and doors that aren't there and upstairs that aren't there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's because whatever era they died in,
Mm-hmm.
they are living in the house or building that they died in.
Okay.
So they keep repeating the way it was built and set up then.
What about people who die in airplanes?
Have people seen ghosts in airplanes?
Well, it'd probably be pretty hard if they're stuck in the same little airplane path, just like passed out in their chair.
I'm assuming the ghost would be wherever the plane crashed.
I was thinking just like someone just like had a heart attack in an airplane.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they're just
well, then
like,
they wouldn't really need a reason to haunt anyone, would they?
I mean, I don't know
I
their
don't
biz.
know. Yeah. Yeah, they might have some serious shit. Or like maybe like someone died of a heart attack and their like loved one was supposed to give them medicine and didn't give them the heart medicine.
Mm.
And so they've got a lot of
Maybe.
pent up anger that's
Yeah.
now ghost anger.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're doomed to like just be on that flight pattern. And every now and every like, once every like 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
a plane happens to fly through that
Yeah.
exact spot.
And there's just like one person who just like, there's just this quick flash of like a cold burst of air. Like, oh, what was that?
Or someone just sees like a fully reclined ghost because they're sitting down in their airline seat buckled in.
But facing the wrong way.
It's like facing the wrong way, like halfway through the ceiling. There's just like,
There are a lot of problems
and
with this.
because they're going like a few thousand miles an hour, like 3 billion miles per hour, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like a flash. Like, did you guys just see that? I think there's a guy in the recliner.
I should go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ding.
of course the whole plane's like darkened
Yep.
and everyone's sleeping.
Yeah.
You're like, stewardess, did you see that?
Maybe I need another ginger ale.
All right.
I love that.
All right, Brian, you got cut off.
Yeah.
So that you don't have any unfinished business that you can haunt this podcast with,
Ooh.
maybe you should tell us about your
biz, my unfinished biz.
Oh, finish that biz.
Okay. You can see other things I do. I am an improv comedian, and you can check out my other podcast. It's called As We Go Along.
Mm-hmm.
It's improv comedy. I get together with a bunch of my improv friends, and we make up stories, and it's fun.
It is.
You can check that out. iTunes, Stitcher, all the places.
All those regular podcast places.
You can check it out on Spreaker.com.
Or you can just Google Brian's name.
Or you can Google my name, which is BRYANDIERSCHOW. I forgot how to spell my name.
You're 3 for 5. So I've got an ongoing tally in my head.
Nice.
Doing great, buddy.
So yeah, just Google me. There's only one of me, so really easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
And you can check out Twitter, Instagram at my name, Brian Deershaw Comedy on Facebook, where you can find live dates and then more about the podcast and all that good stuff. If you liked our show, head on over to iTunes and leave a nice rating and a review.
Yes,
that'll help us to kind of get more traction.
Yeah.
And
or else Adam will use his ghost powers and send ghosts at you.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a reason you don't see them now. It's because I take care of them. But if I
and also because it's a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they can't see it, but we can.
And other than that, if you like the show, tell your friends, tell your family,
mm-hmm.
and clue them in, and we'll build this little family together.
Yeah, and if you got a suggestion for anything you want to talk about in the future,
oh yeah, check out our website.
Toss it up on the website.
Like it was yesterday.weebly.com.
Yes, it is.
WEEBLY Weebly. I like spelling things, even though I'm not good at it.
Hey, you did fine.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again on Like It Was Yesterday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.